Now, the Transport Secretary Mark Harper has been speaking in the last few minutes following news that RMT union members at Network Rail have voted to accept a pay offer. Let's take a listen.
So, a deal at last on the Network Rail side of things. Could this not have been done much earlier if you'd enabled it?
Well, we did enable it. From the moment I became Transport Secretary, I tried to change the tone of this debate, facilitated a fair and reasonable pay offer, and also met with all of the rail union leaders to try and get us to this position. I'm very pleased now, on behalf of the travelling public, that at least on the Network Rail side of the rail business, that we've now solved the industrial disputes across all of the trade unions. I'm very pleased with a very resounding decision today by Network Rail members. 90% turnout, 76% voted in favour of what was a fair and reasonable offer.
If the whole dispute's going to be solved, though, surely you're going to have to put more money on the table to get the train company side solved as well.
Well, we were very clear that this deal that's been done on Network Rail consisted of two parts. It consisted of reform to the way that Network Rail operates. That's been accepted and that is going to go ahead. And a fair and reasonable pay offer. That
hasn't been accepted.
Well, it has been accepted because this deal's been accepted and Network Rail is proceeding with its modernising maintenance programme. So that reform is going to take place. And I'm very pleased that at the same time that reform is going to take place, Network Rail staff are going to get a fair and reasonable pay offer. And that's the right thing to do. This deal was within the mandate that was set out for Network Rail, and I hope that the trade unions now put, the RMT now put, the fair and reasonable pay offer, a very similar pay offer, that they now put that to their members that are working for the train operating companies. They haven't had the chance to consider this pay offer, and I hope their union gives them the chance to consider it and decide whether, like their Network Rail workers, whether they want to settle this dispute as well.
But why should they do that when they haven't had a new offer?
Well, they haven't had a chance to consider the offer at all. Network Rail staff had 2 votes on pay offers, the train operating company staff, and they have on the table a fair and reasonable offer that's comparable to the one that's just been accepted by Network Rail staff. They haven't had the chance to consider it at all. So my plea to the RMT is, put this offer, very fair and reasonable offer, comparable to the one that your members have overwhelmingly, in your own words, accepted on Network Rail, put it to your members that work for train operating companies, let them decide whether they want to get back to work, serve the travelling public and deliver a better train service for the people that they serve.
Who do you think's blinked first in this dispute?
Well, look, I don't think it's about who's blinked first. It's about a fair and reasonable offer was on the table. The RMT finally put it in front of their members, and their members have overwhelmingly accepted it because I think fundamentally people that work on our railways want a fair pay offer, but they also want to serve the travelling public and they want to improve the industry in which they work. And they've overwhelmingly voted in favour of that pay offer today. I'm glad we can get the pay offer done, we can get the reforms delivered to the industry, and then we can hopefully get the industry back on track after what's been a very difficult 3 years with the impact of the pandemic.
Do you think the train company side might be much harder to resolve? Because actually there's a lot more conditions attached, a lot of which the members are very unhappy with, and the RMT was talking about an unconditional pay offer when it rejected that last offer.
Well, look, I think our message has been very clear. There's got to be reform. It's reform that's helping to fund these pay offers, and I think you've got to have both parts together. I said in my George Bradshaw address last month that the rail industry finances at the moment are unsustainable, and you've got to deliver reform in order to have these fair and reasonable pay offers. That's what the staff on Network Rail have accepted, and I hope that those on the train operating company can do so as well.
Just on something else, are you comfortable supporting a deal on Northern Ireland that the DUP says it rejects?
Well, look, obviously I've been very focused today on dealing with the outcome of this industrial dispute and the good news that we've had, so I haven't had a great deal of time to look at what the DUP have said, but I do know that the Windsor Framework's a very powerful deal. It was a deal that no one thought that the Prime Minister could reach. It settles a lot of the practical issues that there have been for the people of Northern Ireland. I think it enables trade to continue within the UK internal market. I know the House of Commons is planned to have a vote on it this week. I think it's a good deal, and I hope a majority of members of the House of Commons will support it.
Very quick final one. You've extended the Avanti West Coast contract again. Are you not rewarding failure?
Not at all. Avanti have demonstrated over the period running in this contract, this 6-month period, that they've made considerable improvements, which is why I've had sufficient confidence to extend their contract by 6 months. But they still have quite some way to go, which is why I've only extended it for 6 months, and I will be looking for continued improvement in performance in the months to come.